Welcome back, everybody. I hope you're all awesome. I've got a follow-up video with the Boss ME-90. There are a bunch of questions people were asking about it, such as how to set it up in 4-cable method, which we will look at very, very soon. How the polyphonic pitch is, can you use the looper with a delay? How do you get multiple modulation effects in the same patch? How does the send and return work? And whether you can disable the built-in preamps. I'm going to answer all of those questions. First, let's talk about how you would set this up to use the 4-cable method with an amp. As you'd expect with something called the 4-cable method, you will need 4 guitar cables to do this. The first thing that you want to do though is to look at the little switch on the back of your ME-90 that is labeled guitar amp/line. You want to set this to guitar amp. Don't set it to line if you're using a real amp and cabinet. Next, you're going to take your guitar and connect a cable from the guitar to the input of the ME-90. The send from the ME-90 is going to go to the input of your amp. Then the effects send, or the preamp out on your amp, whatever it's called, is going to come back and go to the return slot of the ME-90. Finally, take the left mono output of the ME-90 and connect that to the effects return of your amp. Happy days. Now that we've got everything cabled up, I'm going to be using the Boss Tone Studio for the ME-90 to finish the setup and dial in some effects. The first thing we want to do in Tone Studio is go to the preamp and make sure that it's bypassed, because we're going to be using our amps preamp. We actually don't need this function in here at all. The next thing you want to consider is where you place this send and return block. So this is where your amp's preamp is living at the moment. So just visualize this as where your amp's preamp is in the signal chain. You go to the System tab, navigate to Send and Return settings. You can place it pre or post in the chain. Post will just place it after the volume block for our setup over here. Furthermore, each effect block supports multiple effect types, and depending on the sort of effect you choose, that will have an impact on where it ends up in the chain. For example, this EQ/effects2 block over here. When I've got it set to EQ, it places the EQ after this send and return block over here. But if I set it to, say, Univibe, it's going to place the Univibe at the start of the chain. One other thing to consider as well is there are extra effect types accessible from this editor. For example, look at the compressor. The standard types are comp, Tiwa, slow gear. And then you've got selectable. So if I go to selectable, I've got all these other types in here, like the polyphonic octaver, the dynacomp, the ring mod. I'm going to roll with the decomp on here. Let's hear the sound of just the guitar and the amp with the ME-90 out of the chain. And then I'm going to bring in various effects. We'll start with the dynacomp. We'll hear some of the center OD, some univibe, and some CE1 chorus and delay. revisit that tempo delay in just a second, but I think you really hear the advantage of running the 4-cable method when you've got a really distorted preamp in here. So I've switched over, so I've got plenty of gain from the amp. What I'm going to do is use the center OD as a boost in front of the amp's preamp, and then the analog delay is going to come in the amp's loop. If you had the analog delay with the effect level this high in front of distortion, it would get super mushed out. Having it in here is going to be a lot cleaner, and personally, it's the way I would run a delay pedal with an amp. Let's hear just the raw tone and then with the effects. So when I had that patch set up at the start, the mod block had the CE1 chorus in it, and that got automatically routed after the send and return, or after the preamp in the amp's effects loop. When I selected the script phaser in the mod block, it routed it before the preamp, which I guess is where most people would run a real phase 90. With the tempo delay, I'll show you how to set that up. Basically, you want to select the tempo delay effect type. And what is going to happen in manual mode on the pedal is the little delay foot switch LED is going to blink. In either the editor or with the knob on the unit, you select either a dotted eighth note or a quarter note delay time on there. Then using the delay foot switch, you tap in the tempo right there, and you're going to get your tempo synced delay. If you want to turn the delay off, you press it and you hold it. So we get this. That tempo delay really reminds you just a classic Boss DD2 or DD3 style sound on there. It's quite nice if you combine it with, say, the CE1 chorus or a subtle phaser up the front as well, if you want some modulation in there. I think just for an all-rounder delay, the analog mode sounds really good. Reminds me of my old DD20 analog mode as well. The other thing people were asking about is the polyphonic pitch in here. So if you use the compressor block in here, you can get this tune down function. Let's have a listen to what it sounds like when I kick it down a whole step. I'm just going to leave that analog delay on because I like the tone. Every single one of these polyphonic drop tune style devices that I have ever tried has done two things. It has changed the feel of the guitar a little bit. You're always going to get, around at least 20 milliseconds of latency on there, and this feels pretty similar to something like the drop without having a drop here to do an A/B test with. The second thing is that by the nature of pitch shifting, as you go lower on these, the tone of the guitar is going to become darker. So it would have been nice to have some kind of auto EQ feature on there like the Poly Pitch does on the Helix and like the Eventide H90 has. But those products are a lot more expensive than this. I think if you just need a single song in the set list to go down like a semitone or a whole tone, this will probably do the job just fine. It's also worth noting that if you use something like the delay block as the looper, you can use this EQ/effects2 block for your delay. Furthermore, if you use the mod block for a flanger and you still wanted a chorus, you could also select the chorus from this EQ/effects2 block as well. So even though it's kind of prefixed with EQ, it's actually more of an all-rounder generic effects block in there as well. So you can still have your looper and your chorus and your delay in the same patch with reverb on there as well. The Terra Echo also lives in the delay block as well as the shimmer effect. There's also a delay plus reverb effect in there as well. So what I quite like for an ambient thing is the slow gear combined with a chorus, a delay, the Terra Echo, and the whole reverb cranked all the way up. You get this. That's all for today. I hope you enjoyed the tones, and I hope this made the 4-cable method setup on the ME-90 a lot easier to follow. If you have any other questions, let me know in the comment section below. And if you like what I'm doing here on the channel and you would like to support me directly, click the links in the video description to do that. Have a great day, and I'll see you all next time.